ask me. I mean, I've certainly given it a good old try. Hey, hi, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 14, Episode 7. And before we get started, well, I need to thank some tipper-doos, like my tipper-doo boyfriend, Vito. Thank you, Vito, you're a doll. And Nathaniel, who also wanted to thank me for the laughs. My pleasure, Nathaniel. I hope it was jokes I made and not the way I was looking. I'm just so serious. And finally, Zachariah Pope, what a great name, who also sent some Valentine's Day love, as well as a tipper-doo. Thanks, Zachariah. I hope your Valentine's Day was filled as well. You heard me. And I also have some Redbubble models to show off. First off, look at that. There's Waylon showing off his Denise Journeau Wilma Railroad t-shirt. Looking good, Waylon. Seriously. And this here is either Ron or Tom. They didn't say which, and I did send them a message to answer, let me know who it is that's modeling, but, well, I didn't get it in time, did I? So, whoever this is, Tom or Ron, you look good, modeling Larda Souza's Wilma Pride t-shirt and the Jorge Drink Me face mask. Yeah, I like that. I like the face mask. When you wear that, you don't actually have to order drinks. You just point. If you'd like to get your own Wilma merch, the link is down below, including a link to Denise's Wilma Railroad print. All the profits I receive for that piece, no matter what you order it on, will be donated directly to Rainbow Railroad. To date, I think we've raised about $300. I think I've got another $40, $50 to throw in there later this month. So, yay, and thank you all for being so generous. Now, Jorge, drink me! Oh, what is this? This looks like dishwater. No, it's a lemon lime cocktail. So fresca and vodka. But in a fancy glass. No garnish, I'm noticing. I'm just going to say. Still, it takes up so much room in such a little glass. So we started this episode with the Queen saying goodbye to Maddie Morphosis. Jasmine had no regrets whatsoever about sending Maddie home. She was feeling her oats, especially after that heated exchange she and Maddie shared in the Untucked Lounge. I mean, it's not like Jasmine didn't warn her, but Jasmine did send her home. Willow, for one, was impressed. Jasmine had been telling everyone she was a good lip syncer, and, well, she proved it. It certainly gave Willow something to think about, and I'm sure she wasn't the only one. LC shared her frustration at missing out on another challenge win, but that didn't stop her from congratulating Georges for winning this one. To Daya's eye roll. Yep, there it is, right on time. I thought it was big of Daya to congratulate Georges. It might have been an even bigger gesture if she hadn't read her for filth while she did it. I don't think Daya needed to go on and on about all the work she did, especially when she inadvertently slagged the queens who just glued stuff to bodysuits. Daya did get one thing right. Georges had won $5,000 and a congratulations from Ru. So why does she need to hear it from Daya? Hell, I didn't win any of that and I don't need to hear it from Daya. I'm just going to say. Clearly, Georges was hurt that Daya didn't think she'd done enough, but she didn't let that keep her from reading Daya on her wrinkly outfit or the repeat of her makeup. Good for Georges, seriously. They're only mad at you when you're doing better than they are, just saying. As the queens de-dragged, Jasmine and Deja congratulated Georges on her win, proving that not everyone felt the way Daya did. Personally, I think what really brought it home was LC imitating Daya in her wig. Good for LC. I made my whole outfit. There's some wine I won't order with dinner. The next day in the workroom, Georges was finally able to enjoy her recent win with some love from the other queens, even those who didn't agree with her being on top. Speaking of Daya, she made a drawn-out apology to Georges over her reaction to her win that Jasmine didn't believe for a second. To tell the truth, Daya's apology felt so fractured and disjointed, even I found it hard to believe. But I'm proud that she tried to do the right thing, I'm just saying. Thankfully, Ru's video message changed the subject. There was a lot of soap opera references, so the queens We're just hoping it wasn't another design challenge. When Ru revealed this week's Maxi Challenge, the queens were told they would be acting in a brand new soap opera, The Daytona Wind. A soap opera centered around 3 drag race dynasties, the Davenports, the O'Haras, and the Michaels. And the biggest surprise was that Ru would be their director. Well, the queens were gagged and excited, and then Ru announced that because Georges won last week, she would be able to assign the roles. Needless to say, Daya was worried. Surprisingly, though, Georges announced that she would be happy letting queens pick their own roles. That way, if they failed, it was on them. That's some solid thinking right there. For the most part, the casting went smoothly. There were a few overlaps where the roles were concerned. There was that moment when Deja announced that her choice was to play Sierra Michaels, but that's who Georges wanted to be, so Deja went with her second choice. No fuss, no muss. As the roles got doled out, Lady Camden was having trouble gleaning anything from the script due to the slowness of her reading. So she was left with Leona by default. But it was pointed out to her that there was a makeout scene with Angie, and, well, suddenly everything seemed to be okay. I'm just going to say. Bosco was excited by the Reba McEntire overtones in her character's one short little scene, and because she only had the one scene, she wanted to pull out all the stops. And I don't blame her, because her short little moment happened smack dab in between Daya and Willow, who were playing the Spring Break girls. Enough said. I have to say, I was impressed not only by the amount of work Daya and Willow put into their scene, but how well they worked together. Here's to everybody getting along, seriously. Carrie, Deja, and Georges seemed to be having a good rehearsal. That is, until, well, they put down their scripts. It was too soon. They flew too high, too soon. It all fell apart pretty quickly, especially with all the lines that Deja had to get through. Seriously. Georges had her own kettle of fish to fry. The pressure of coming off a win was real where this challenge was concerned, and, well, she just didn't want to fail in front of Ru. Doesn't she realize she's Ru's favorite? She could poop on a picture of Diana Ross right in front of Ru, and she would think it was art. Seriously, Georges can't do any wrong. I'm sorry, I know that was a little graphic. Was it the pooping part or on the picture, Diana Ross? And then it was lights, camera, action with director RuPaul. Did I mention Ru was directing? Because I think that's putting it mildly. Ru directed those queens right down to where to take pauses and breaths, and what expressions they were using while they were doing it. I mean, it all made sense later, but this heavy-handed approach worried me and confused the queens. Still, for the most part, everyone did pretty well. Deja had a little trouble maintaining her accent, but who was watching her when Jasmine was channeling Alyssa Edwards right next to her? I'm so serious. Jasmine was hilarious, especially after Ru told her to try an accent. I'm not sure anyone's quite sure which accent she used, but I agree with Bosco. Jasmine's bad acting has become my new favorite thing to watch. Here's to Jasmine. Well done. Another standout for Ru was the Spring Break girls, Willow and Daya. Let's just hope that was enough attention for Daya to get her head back in the game, seriously. Lady Camden impressed the hell out of Ru too, but then again, she was in that scene with poor Angie. God bless. Angie's performance was so hard to watch. A dry, no butter, no mayo, just cheese and bread. That would have been better to watch. Poor Angie. And then it was Elimination Day. Poor Angie was stressing over her performance, as well she should be. No offense. But it was worrying Willow too, who found it hard to see Angie in such a vulnerable state. Yeah, what happens when your rock crumbles? Seriously. I don't know why I looked at you when I said that. On the other side of the room, Daya was trying to smooth things over with Georges. Again. But she sounded forced and condescending. Again! But she was able to get her point across, which was, it was her competitive attitude that was taking over her mouth. She didn't really want to see a friend not succeed. Seriously. Just believe her. Because this week's runway theme was chaps, the talk landed on San Francisco's Folsom Fair, which is an alternative annual pride event where fetishes and kink are all celebrated by men, women, everybody, often right there in front of you. As Bosco said, not every gay pride event needs to be family friendly, so here's to the grit. Also, it's not a gay pride thing, it's fetish pride. I love that Angie had never heard of Folsom Fair, but once she had been told, well, she was good to go. If you're at the Folsom Fair this year, keep your eye out for Miss Angie. Seriously, she could be under any number of people, I'm just saying. Jasmine read a note to the room that Maddie had left her, proving that there were no hard feelings. Maddie also wanted Jasmine to show her around the Big Apple, which Daya immediately said Jasmine could do next week after she went home. And then the reading began. It was all in good fun, but Jasmine did get a good one in on Daya, comparing her to her drag mom. Here's to Jasmine, who said, if you're not reading your friend, she's not your true friend. Well said, Miss Kennedy with an IE. Seriously. And then it was time for the runway. Ru looked stunning in a classic handkerchief hem tangerine ball gown. Michelle looked ravishing in her raspberry velvet blazer. Keeping up with his baseball-themed jackets, Ross looked wild in his zebra print with yellow sleeves. And joining them on the judges panel this week, perfection in pink herself, Miss T.S. Madison. Category is chaps. Willow Pill was first, and immediately I gagged. This second set of arms holding up her ponytails while giving her an atomic wedgie was stunning. To be honest, I didn't even notice if Willow was wearing chaps after seeing that. Seriously, but she was, and I totally gave her a Fingerdoo. Bosco's classic Easy Rider-inspired pink leather chaps set was absolute heaven, and totally deserving of a Fingerdoo. Seriously. Deja's blue cheetah chaps were gorgeous, as was that little shrug sleeve piece that matched, but there was something about it that, I don't know, it was just a little off for me. I don't know if it was the wig, the leotard. There was something about this look that just lay flat. I still gave her a Fingerdoo, but I was filled with questions. Carrie's ode to hair and chaps was stunning. Plus, it forced another Jane Childs reference out of Michelle Visage. Seriously, are Ru, Michelle, and I the only people who still remember Jane Childs? Seriously, I'm asking. Oh, Fingerdoo for Carrie. From the waist up, George's was breathtaking, but no one in the world is going to tell me she was wearing chaps. By definition, chaps are leg coverings that are independent of each other. What George's was wearing was, well, pantyhose that weren't going up all the way. So sadly, it's a Fingerdoo for George's, but she looked fantastic. When Angeria Perez Van Michael stepped onto that runway, I immediately said to myself, she looks like Darcel from Solid Gold. And if you don't know who that is, well, we can't be friends. And then Ru said the exact same thing. See? That's why we're like this. This is me. Seriously, I just loved Angie's Solid Gold chaps, so I gave her a Fingerdoo. Jasmine's runway was odd. I feel like I was missing something, or I didn't get the reference, because, I mean, I liked her chap boots. Those were stunning, but the blue fishnet body stocking might have been better if she wasn't wearing the graduation cap and gown. I mean, it wasn't odd enough to make the look avant-garde, so I had to give her a Fingerdoo. Lady Camden's runway was a little meh for me, and then she ate floor. She went down hard. I haven't seen a queen go down that hard on the runway of RuPaul's Drag Race since Akasha Season 1, Episode 3. I mean, I was starting to wonder why no one was calling for a medic when LC slowly started to pull herself up off the floor. No wig, head down, in shame. But as she raised her head, she revealed she had a big old Freddie Mercury handlebar mustache on. It was the most dramatic and effective quick change I've ever seen on Drag Race. Seriously, from the look of it, I thought she left teeth in the runway. And she's British. She can't afford to do that. As for Elsie's chaps, they were okay. Not the most glamorous or inventive, but that reveal had to count for something. Seriously, Fingerdoo for Elsie. Diabetti was next, and she just took my breath away. I thought she looked gorgeous. That hat, perfection. Personally, I thought her stockings and chaps together were a little busy, but I still gave her a Fingerdoo. She looked good. And then it was time to watch the Daytona Wind, the director's cut, mind you, because Ru took a moment to explain to the queens that, well, she felt the project was missing something she was able to add in post. That's right, this week's Maxi Challenge was one big fart joke, and I, for one, am so glad that it was. I love a good fart joke. There, I said it. And while the Daytona Wind may have been a joke, it was certainly a lot funnier than what they were filming the day before. I know I'd be lying if I didn't admit to one or two giggles sneaking out of me. Wait, that was me. That wasn't me. And then Ru announced that Deja Skye, Carrie Colby, and Angeria Paris Van Michaels were safe. And once they frigged off, Ru announced that the remaining queens were all in the top. There were no bottoms this week, which meant no one was going home. First up with the judges' critiques was Georges. Her runway was a little controversial. Ross thought they weren't chaps at all, while T.S. Madison didn't care what they were called. She wanted a pair in her size. Jasmine was next, and I'm so glad Ru said her outfit was stupid ridiculous because I still didn't get it. Ross seemed confused by it as well. Michelle was confused by Jasmine's version of a Southern accent during the challenge. Ross compared it to Faye Dunaway and Mommy Dearest. Well done for Jasmine. Just saying. Next up was a clear fave of the judges, Lady Camden. Her runway was a hit, and the judges agreed her performance was perfection. Ru even praised Elsie on her conviction to her character. It was a good night to be Miss Lady Camden, I'm just going to say. Daya was next, and finally, let the bells ring out and the voices cheered. Daya Betty is finally getting a critique, and thankfully it was a good one. I think getting a negative critique at this stage would have sent Daya around the pipe, I'm just saying. But nope, the judges loved her. Not only did she deliver a commanding performance in Ross's opinion, but T.S. Madison was all about those big old prostitute lips she'd drawn on her face. As for her runway, Michelle was gagging over her chaps, having a bootcut flare on them. Even Ru was impressed by both her acting and her runway, and declared this the week that Daya showed up. Wow. Now maybe we'll get some peace in that workroom. Willow was next. She was another favorite with the judges, although Michelle thought her obvious impression of Moira Rose from Schitt's Creek was a little too distracting. Is that whose voice she was doing? Jeez, I really should watch that show. Bosco was next, and right off the top, Ross pointed out the courage it takes to take on a small role at the end, and, well, he thought she nailed it. T.S. Madison was all about Bosco's pussy pink leather runway. Why wouldn't she be? Ru thought Bosco did a great job in the challenge, but still wanted to know why she took that role. Bosco admitted to recognizing it as a Joan Collins moment, and she wanted it. Good for Bosco. And with that, the queens retired to the Untucked Lounge. The safe queens were thrilled to make it through to another week, especially Deja, who, well, didn't think she'd done her best, and Angeria, who was truly convinced she was going home this week. While the queens discussed the judges' critiques, Angie brought up Jasmine's name and how she helped her to stay out of her head, which, well, I thought was good to hear. I mean, it's about time somebody said something nice about Jasmine, seriously. Carrie reflected on how easy it can be on Drag Race if you're pretty, but she didn't want to get caught up in a false sense of confidence because of it. That's when the rest of the queens arrived, and they brought everyone up to speed on the fact that Deja was right. No one was in the bottom this week, and that the top two would be lip-syncing for the win. There was great rejoicing. Daya went off on a well-deserved tangent on how much Michelle loved her runway. And she went on and on. I think if Daya ever makes fun of Jasmine talking too much, I don't know. I think we should be able to give her a slap. Georges finally got a word in edgewise, saying that she felt she was starting to get better in these acting challenges. She just wished that she had worn different chaps, bless her. Everyone agreed that if anyone was going to lip sync for the win, it was going to be Lady Camden. She more than rocked the Casbah this week and was very proud to agree. Just as the queens were starting to talk about family and the struggles they've all had with their drag, T.S. dropped by with some much needed words of support. She was great. I think there's something about her, you know, she's lived the life. When she has an opinion or something to say, it's coming from a place of ultimate knowledge. And the queens just laughed it up. She was great with them. After she left, Jasmine had a cathartic moment. She came out as trans. It was something that she had been dealing with before Drag Race started. It really was a very emotional moment and touching and supportive exchange that I'm glad we got on camera. We watched too many queens snap and gripe. We really do need to see more moments like this, seriously. That got Bosco talking about her issues with her own sexuality and deciding on whether she was trans, non-binary. And the thing that made me so impressed is that makes 4 contestants this season. Cornbread was transitioning but hadn't made it public until she was eliminated. Carrie's openly trans. And then to have Bosco and Jasmine both share their feelings. And then on Drag Race UK versus the World, we were listening to Blue. And I think that this is really opening a lot of great conversations. And I'm so glad that they had it on Drag Race. Here's to all of them. Good grief. So hard to be a person, no matter what sex you are. Just being a person. Oh, too much work. And then the queens returned to the main stage where it was announced that Dia Betty and Lady Camden were the top 2 queens of the week. And they were going to be lip-syncing to Blondie's One Way or Another. I thought they both did well. Dia was striking poses like a fashion model. She looked gorgeous, but Lady Camden's dancing is what really set them apart. LC just seemed to be more connected to the music. So when Ru announced that Lady Camden was the winner, I wasn't surprised. So what do you think? No one in the bottom? What's that about? If there had been, who would you have put in the bottom? Deja still seems to be hiding in the middle of the pack, if you ask me. I hope she has a come to Jesus moment soon, or she could be the next one on the chopping block. What about Jasmine? Could her revelation in the Untucked Lounge be the linchpin to unleash her inner diva? Well, all we can do is tune into RuPaul's Drag Race next week to see how it all falls out. And when you're done, you come back and see me so you and I can compare notes. Now, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Also, check out my various links in the description box. And until next week, it's me! Seriously, I don't know. I normally hate it when they don't have somebody going home, or they don't have 2 people on the bottom, but everyone did such a good job this week. It would have been awful to see somebody go home. I mean, for me, if I could get my nose to stop running, that would be a start. But I would have put... See, the thing was, everyone who had a bad... Angie's performance, Deja's performance, any of those people that had an awkward performance was saved by the fart jokes. I mean, there were some moments where Angie just sat there staring into space, and the fact that there was farting going on saved everything. So I'm glad that nobody went home. But yeah, Deja Sky's got to do something. I was expecting so much from her, and she's just kind of, she's middling. Like, I think she's very, very happy to be safe. I think it worries her when she's not safe, because it's not a guarantee in her mind that she's on top. Do you know what I mean? I don't know why she's like that. She's a good queen. Just needs some sparkle.